All right, welcome everybody. We are excited to have you here. My name is Laura and I am a facilitator with StriveScan. And again, just want to welcome you to the Minnesota Association for College Admission Counseling Virtual College Fair. We are excited to have you here for our panel discussion today. And we are going to be going over holistic review. What does it really mean today? So a couple just kind of housekeeping things that I want to address before we jump right in and I turn it over to our presenters. Your camera and microphone are off, as you may have already noticed. The panelists cannot see or hear you. So if you have questions, we certainly encourage this, but you will not be able to come off mic to ask those. We would just ask you to use the Q&A option that you should see at the bottom of your Zoom meeting right now. You can type those questions in at any time, and we'll be trying to get to those and answer those throughout the presentation. So again, looking forward to hearing your questions there. This is actually just one of many presentations and sessions that are happening, so be sure to check out the schedule on the website, both today and tomorrow as well. And this presentation is being recorded and will be available at strivescan.com/Minnesota. So I'd encourage you to check that out as well. With that, that is everything I have on my end. So I am just excited to turn it over to our presenter, MACAC, who is going to be talking through our content today. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is MACAC. I'm going to be sharing my screen here. Can everybody see that? Awesome. Okay, so my name is MACAC. I'm a first-time in college admissions counselor at Seattle University, and Ben and I are going to be chatting with you guys a little bit about the holistic review process and what that really means when you're kind of getting into your application. I'm going to go over what we're going to be discussing today, and then Ben will take over. So we are going to chat about getting started for your college applications, the holistic review, of course, and what that really looks like, the review process, what's really important to remember throughout the application process, some essay tips, navigating the admissions process itself, and then a few myths and urban legends.
Awesome. Thank you, MACAC. So I'm Ben Hatchett, Regional Associate Director from DePaul University. So we're covering the country today. We've got, Pacific Northwest represented in the Midwest. Feel free to use your chat in that feature and we will answer those questions live and help you throughout. But to get started, let us first just kind of reiterate, don't panic, breathe. I know easy for us to say, the college representatives, but you're not in this alone. Every school you're looking at has an amazing staff of admission officers that can't wait to read your application and truly read it. So today we're going to be unpacking this holistic review and what that means. You're going to hear it a lot. You probably have heard it already, but we want to be helpful during this process. So we're not typically the gatekeepers in keeping you out of our schools. We can't wait to read that application. And I just kind of want to demystify that. And we'll do more things like that as our session goes on. But be realistic during kind of your application process. Make sure you keep in mind of those deadlines and watch out for what's kind of coming and what's expected of you. But be sure to be being your most authentic self, I think, in that application process. So getting started, I think it becomes really easy to start painting this picture of you that, oh, Seattle U or DePaul University really wants to hear this about me. We do want to hear that, but we also make sure it's coming from your perspective that this is truly what you're proud of. And that's how you can really help hone in on focusing on that right college fit, because when you are articulating the things that are important to you, it's going to be clear in your application. It's going to be a great connection to that school that you're looking at. We also want you to be mindful of using all of the resources, like joining us virtually on sessions like this, but getting to know your counselors. I kind of led with it, but MACAC and I are two great examples of people that will be reading your application. So you don't have to wait to work with us until the moment you hit submit. It actually can happen earlier. So let us know too, as you're going through this process. And many of you at your high schools will have amazing college counselors and guidance professionals that can help you as navigating, just figuring out what goes into that essay or what activities should you or not include on your application. Definitely do your research. It's always amazing what a Google search can yield in terms of finding the programs that you're looking for, but also thanks to the Common App, applications in general are pretty streamlined and easier now than ever before. So you all timed it really well to go through this application process. You're not having to do too much paper writing. Everything's all done electronically, and we can't wait to read your application. But for those of you that are seniors right now joining on the call, I want to give you a little kudos, round of applause. We love our sophomores, juniors, first years, whoever's going through this and joining us tonight, but especially the seniors. I know this last 18 months or so have certainly been challenging, but now the application process is here, is getting going, and you're not alone. So I hope that kind of touched a little bit getting started, and I'll turn it back over to MACAC on our next slide.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. So I'm going to be diving a little bit into the holistic review process and what that means. So in short, that means that when I'm reading your application, I'm not super laser focused on your GPA or your average grade trend, excuse me. I take everything in your file into consideration. Universities really value the community of people we have on our campuses, and we want to make sure that when we're reading your application, we're taking everything into consideration and we're inviting someone onto our campus that's going to continue to foster that community. So know that it is my commitment, as well as Ben's and the rest of the admissions counselors at the universities you guys will be applying to really make sure that we read every single thing you send us. In addition to any other info you think is important for us, send it all. We love it. Moving along, I'm just gonna go through this circle a little bit here, and then I'll touch on the completing your application portion a little bit. So for the first three, academic rigor, grade trend, and overall GPA, I do need to look at these things so that I know when I'm inviting you on campus, or any admissions counselor is inviting you on campus, that you're going to be academically successful. Rigor is just those courses that you're choosing to put yourself in. So AP classes, honors, IB, running start, anything it may be, just showing that you were putting in that extra effort. Grade trend. I'm so sorry. I'm having such difficulty with that word today. We really want to see how your grades have looked throughout your high school career, rather than just your senior year or your junior year when you knew college applications were coming up. And if there was a time that something may have happened, or you may have seen a little downfall in your grades, that's where we really encourage you to use that personal essay to talk about that and explain it to us. And we really, really do appreciate full transparency, and take every bit of information that you give in that into consideration as well. Moving along, so we are test optional at SU. DePaul University is test optional as well. You should be sure to look into the universities you're applying to, but essentially what that means is, for example, picture yourself with a pizza. If you have a full pizza, you're going to be submitting those test scores. If you remove a slice of pizza, which is going to be those SAT and ACT scores, we're just going to close it up, and it's just going to go from a medium-sized pizza to a small-sized pizza. It's a personal size now. So it pretty much never existed. You don't have to stress yourself out about it. If you really want to take the test to improve something about your science or math skills or reading or writing, we welcome that as well, and we will take it into consideration. Next on the circle, we have major prerequisites, and these are just elements that make a student's application a little bit more competitive, especially if you're considering programs that are, again, science and math heavy. So nursing programs, engineering, anything like that, having the prerequisites of calculus or biology or chemistry is really great for your application and can really help you as you're going through your first couple of years at the university. And then last three sections we have here are leadership and letters of recommendation. So these are included in the Common App. For leadership and activities, it's a place for you to really tell us everything you're involved in, which includes being a caretaker of your family, if that exists for you, or being in sports and clubs or whatever it may be, anything you're passionate about and have been involved in. We really want to invite you to let us know about it. If you volunteered in your local shelter or something like that, please tell us. And then for the essay, again, I want you to just remember to use that essay to talk about something you're really passionate about. Like Ben was mentioning, don't just use something that you think we want to hear, because honestly, we've probably heard it before. We really want to hear from you, and we want to hear about you and what makes our campus and our university special to you and what you're looking for. And then, so I think that is all from me. I'm going to, letters of recommendation. Those are included in the Common App. At Seattle University personally, we require 2, one from a teacher and one from a counselor. That's pretty standard. It fluctuates from university to university. So be sure to do your research on that as well.
Thank you. So diving a little bit deeper into, we're going to pull back this curtain a little bit. We want to be incredibly transparent to you all. I feel like that was kind of a big misconception when I was going through my college search. So please know that seriously, if you're taking anything away from this lesson today, know that MACAC and I and all of our teams are here to help you. So the holistic review, to unpack some terms, it really is making sure that many factors are considered in your application. We truly review your application front to back. At DePaul, we actually do a couple rounds of reading. So for students that I work with, I get to be the first reader, and I complete all my notes and make a recommendation on that student. But it takes a little pressure off of me, which is nice, that I do have some colleagues that will do a second review on your application. So I like to think of it as many ways to make sure that your application's getting its due diligence and chance to have many great eyes get to read it. It varies from school to school, but I also want to kind of give you that idea that when we talk about the holistic review, it is truly reviewing all of the contents of your application. Of course, academics are a big part of your 4 years in college, so it's going to be a big part of your application review. We spend a lot of time reviewing your transcript. And as MACAC was talking a little bit, we love to see how you're improving each of your 4 years, but also looking at the level of classes that you're taking, how challenging, or what's the level of challenging classes you're taking. We also totally get it and understand that not every high school offers a really robust AP program or IB dual credit or honors for that matter. If you are taking the highest level of classes offered at your school, you don't have to worry about being compared to other students. We are at the end of the day reading your application individually on its own, and also taking into account what is even offered at your high school. Accompanying your application will be a secondary school report, basically a document provided by your counseling staff, letting us know all that's been going on at home and in your community. Most recently, schools have also been sharing a COVID-19 update. So if you're wondering what to talk about or how to include that, know that your schools have already taken a great step for you, sharing with us how many days have you been pulled out of the in-person classroom setting or been virtual, and we're all kind of going through this together. So please know that we are being incredibly mindful that these last 18 months have been a time, to say the very least, and that we're also looking at those things if you're not happy with your performance one semester or two, given this unprecedented academic journey you've been on. Institutional fit is really big. By joining us for a session like tonight, you are showing your interest in a way. We love to measure that in a variety of ways when reading your application. I'll let MACAC jump into if Seattle University has a couple things too. We always kind of note on an application if a student has or has not visited campus. It's just a little check mark. It's always nice to know whether or not you visited, and you might have even joined us for a session like this today. It does not help or hurt you, so to speak, if you haven't visited campus. It's just kind of a nice little reminder for us to see that you have done some work to either get connected with our campus for either a virtual session in the pandemic or join us for an in-person visit. So we start measuring institutional fit the moment you join our system by raising your hand, but even when we're reading your application, we might be, all of our schools might have little indicators showing that you visited campus, maybe you're already an athletic recruit in one of our systems and things like that. Those are all just ways to help show that institutional fit, but not a big deal if you are still undecided or undeclared or just getting into our system for the first time by submitting your application. So looking also at that demonstrated interest, as we try to figure out who's going to be an awesome student at Seattle University and DePaul University, it does go into showing that interest. It's not always a competition of how many emails you've sent to either of our offices, but we do look at different ways to measure interest. I know all of our schools have done an outstanding job coming up with some creative virtual content. So don't worry if you're hitting submit on your application and you haven't necessarily done an in-person visit to all of our schools. We, of course, are very mindful of this and are also looking at ways of tracking your virtual engagement. If you have sat in on an information session or maybe met with your admission counselor virtually for a phone call or a regional interview, we also track all of those things. Malak, is there anything you want to share that Seattle University does with either institutional fit or measuring interest?
Yeah, absolutely. Very similar to what Ben was mentioning. Seattle University will be sure to track when our students showed interest in the school and how frequently they communicate with our admissions counselors, how frequently they're kind of, following up on emails that we're sending them, just to kind of really gauge where we are on their scale. And in terms of institutional fit, campus visits is a great way a great resource we use to kind of understand that as well. We also offer virtual visits, which I know a lot of our schools are doing, given our current reality. So those are a great way to kind of get involved and really take your time with it. We, of course, as Ben was mentioning, understand that, if you're living on the East Coast or, even you guys in Minnesota, you're not necessarily going to be able to take a trip to Seattle on the weekend or down to DePaul. So definitely same thing. And, we're trying to take it all into account. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next slide here. Speaking of our current reality. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly go over a few really important things to keep in mind. I know we've been talking quite a bit about all of these academic rigor and grade trend and fit and all of that stuff. So I just wanted to quickly highlight academic preparation, as we've said. Be sure that whatever institution you are choosing to apply for not only has the programs and the majors that you're interested in, but also is going to be a good fit at where you feel you are academically. So if that means that you feel that you excel in smaller class sizes, be sure to look into schools that offer that. If you're really looking to be able to collaborate and work in even bigger class sizes, that's always a great option too, but just be sure to know what works best for you prior. A mission fit, that goes back to that institutional fit a little bit, but if you really want to gear in on that, the mission is a good way to understand if the school would be a good fit for you. So for example, at Seattle University, we're really dedicated to educating the whole person to professional formation and for a just and humane world. So for us, what that means is we offer a lot of hands-on learning opportunities inside and outside of the classroom. And moving along, that demonstrated interest, as we touched on, do the campus visits, attend the fairs, do the virtual tours, whatever you can really get your hands on is going to be great for you. It could either show you that you really, really do love that school, or it could show you that maybe it's not the right fit for you. Maybe it could be a good fit for you in a couple of years. You never know really what the path will look like. Enlightening and supportive recommendations. So when it comes to your letters of rec, I really, really, really encourage students to be sure that they're getting those from teachers and counselors and staff members and faculty that they have a true relationship with. Just because you are applying to a psychology major doesn't mean you necessarily need a letter of rec from your AP Psych teacher just because she's your AP Psych teacher. Be sure you have a relationship with her. Be sure she knows who you are, what kind of student you are, what kind of community member and classmate you are. That's all really, really valuable information to us as well. Extracurricular involvement, those activities and different leadership opportunities that you were involved in, we really, really do take those into consideration. It not only shows that you were keeping yourself busy throughout high school, but it also shows us that you were able to balance many different things, which is going to be a really big aspect throughout your college career. So it's also nice to see that students wanted to get out there and be a part of their community, And then when it comes to your major choices, very, very similar to academic preparation, be sure that the majors you're selecting are really what you're interested in and really what you're prepared for. So if you're interested in being an accounting major and you don't necessarily feel like you have the math skills quite yet, maybe you could explore the pre-business option if that school offers it. Similar to engineering, maybe you could do pre-science or something like that. So there's always different options, and your admissions counselors are great people to talk to about those options. So the choices are never limited, and it's really important to keep that in mind. Moving on, back to Ben.
Yeah, so diving into one of my favorite parts of your application is the essay. While I love to review your transcript and everything that you've submitted, this is the chance where we get to hear you, truly, your voice as a writer. At a place like DePaul, being a smaller private liberal arts college, we have a strong focus on your writing skills. And this essay is going to be unlike anything you've written before. And some of you might already be drafting or have drafted a version of your college essay. And you know what I mean, that this isn't an argumentative essay. There's no works cited page required. This is truly a personal essay. And on top of that, you have what, 500, 600 words to do it? So your time is really important here, and how you prioritize it is going to only help you create a stronger application. But at the end of the day, writing an essay that's saying something truly important to you. So to use Common App as the example, there are 6 to 7 different essay prompts to choose from. You can start there or look at the school specifically to see if they have any additional essay topics or essay requirements. So for your personal statement, this is truly a personal essay. We want you to write about something that you're passionate about. This goes back to the point that I talked about earlier, not necessarily feeling like you have to put on a face or write about a particular challenge or an experience you had that you feel like might sound good to a college. Really think about what you're writing. One thing, if you're lost or struggling to come up with that essay topic, that I like to encourage students to think about is what's something missing in your application. For instance, you can write down your activity section, and it's one thing to list out all the things that you're doing, but is there like a really big story or something that we're missing by just glancing through maybe your 10 to 12 activities you're involved in? If so, if the answer is yes, that there's something more that you want to talk about than just listing that as an activity, that could be a great topic for a personal essay. Some of my favorite essays that I've enjoyed reading have been some pretty interesting topics. Could go back just briefly.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
Technology.
I thought I saw that you recognized it too. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I totally did. I'm trying. Okay.
Not a big deal.
Awesome.
So one essay that sticks in my mind is a young woman who wrote about her love for coffee. Unlike anything that I thought I was going to be reading on a college essay, this happened, I think, one of my first or second cycles reading applications, and it stuck with me to this day. But she not only had a sense of humor, but really crafted this really interesting story. And she kind of played it off, this essay, almost of sitting down at a coffee shop, not knowing what to write about. I have a feeling she kind of crafted that. I think she knew what to write about, but it kind of really created the setting that I could see her sitting down at a coffee shop. She had no idea what to write, but then her coffee was delivered to her. And suddenly she started writing about her love for coffee. And it turns out her and her family have done a lot of research into resourcing and figuring out sustainable coffee methods, figuring out where coffees are coming from. Some descriptive words she used was like this glorified bean water, that she talked about coffee being this like nourishing substance. She even had fun with it and wondered if she was maybe borderline addicted to coffee. I never felt that I had to have an intervention, but I suddenly learned so much about her. And in fact, I had to write like a letter and reach out to her of just recommending the coffee shops that she should check out in Greencastle when she visits campus. So anyway, that's one thing that might surprise you, that not only are our personal essays a lot of fun for us to read because we get to hear you, but it might create this connection that you didn't realize that we then can maybe follow up with ways to help you. So I love here when we think about being creative, use that imagery. At the end of the day, you do have to be mindful of that human element, that an admission officer could be reading 300, 400, 500 applications, maybe more in a given cycle, just depending on the load of a school. So why I say this is, if you are not invested in your essay, it's going to show very quickly. If you're just writing to particularly, speak on a topic, you might bore your reader. So I do want to kind of just take a moment of, you should be creative and also be mindful that someone might be reading your application in 10 minutes or less, your essay that is. So be mindful of time and writing something that really captures their attention. I know some students have felt compelled to include a previous essay from a great class. And while I don't say that's not a good option to go with, because you can include an open-ended essay option in most applications, what I have found to be difficult, say you had like A++ outstanding essay that was written one time and a teacher of yours loved it and encouraged you to hold on to it. What I have found often happens, those essays don't always translate over to your college application well. What I mean is that MACAC and I do not have the understanding of what was going on in that classroom. So your essay might be touching on topics that were really great, and you probably know what you're talking about. We have no idea if these quotes you're pulling into pertain to the topic and how all of this story goes into play. So if you might have an awesome AP US history paper out there, I really encourage you though to think about truly creating that personal essay rather than just cut and pasting a prior work. If you're not humorous or naturally funny, don't feel like your personal essay has to be this forced stand-up hour. If you yourself are a humorous person, it's going to become very natural. But I don't want you to feel like you have to be funny or do all these things. I love humor, but especially humor when it fits the setting so nicely. At the end of the day, do make sure that you're not only answering the essay prompt given to you, but you are neatly telling that story. You do only have 500 to 600 words, so the content is really important to not only capture your admission counselor's attention, but give us that idea, that full circle story and this little glimpse into something that was really important to you. You can think of that great hook. I'll let MACAC definitely jump into if there's anything that she's come across or really enjoys. But when you're going through this, you have heard time and time again, probably your entire life, to proofread. That lesson that's been ingrained to you from maybe day one in school continues to be true to this day. Review your application and proofread your essay. I've had some amazing essays come across my desk, and unfortunately, while they've been awesome, there's been some that end with, and I can't wait to go to Seattle University as the example. Be very careful if you are about to go all in, so to speak, on this essay, because if you happen to send maybe a great essay to Seattle University, but it also goes to DePaul, well, I'm not going to dock you too many points. It always crushes my soul a little bit. Some schools might really look at that as a big negative, that you've kind of written this essay. Sounds like you're committed to Seattle University. Be very careful of that essay and make sure that you're not sending that essay to the wrong school, or not including punctuation or different grammatical errors in there. We get it too. Sometimes if you're moving these things over into the Common App, it doesn't always capture formatting correctly. So do make sure you kind of double check that everything was brought over if you happen to be working off a Word document and then putting it into Common App. Sometimes by copying and pasting, your formatting might become off. So double check that. Your length, I've kind of talked about it already. You don't have a whole lot of room in here. So it's going to be kind of one big paragraph, really. You might be able to break it up if you want to use some spaces in there, but you're probably looking at a page to maybe a page and a half, if that, of text. I have found instances where I've caught students that have plagiarized. It's never a great feeling. We all have ways to detect plagiarism. I've actually found instances where I've been working with some students for a while now where they actually copied and pasted maybe a sibling's essay that they actually applied to our university with 3 or 4 years ago. And you never know when those things might happen or come back to hurt you. So always stick with something that's true to you and do not kind of plagiarize that work. easy enough, you've heard it. We're very important about academic integrity of all of our schools, and certainly plagiarizing that personal essay to start isn't a great sign of becoming part of our community. Malak, anything you'd like to add on essay tips, tricks?
I think you did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think just as he said, really make sure it's authentic to you. So moving on to the slide you guys already have seen bit of. Just some final tips for navigating this whole process. It is a lot. It can be a lot, especially after you've just reached this huge milestone. You're graduating high school. I mean, you guys should really be celebrating yourself, and it's really important to be certain to do that, but also take it step by step and create a timeline for yourself. Look up at when application deadlines are for each school. If a school has early admissions or early action, early decision, make sure you know the difference. Is it binding? Is it not binding? Does it make a difference when you apply? Be sure you just take note of all of that and then create a timeline so you're not feeling overwhelmed and stressed come the holidays. Make sure all application materials are submitted prior to those deadlines as well. The deadline doesn't just mean that you need to click submit on that Common App, but really be sure to have those letters of rec submitted as well. Have have your transcripts submitted. Your school report should be attached to your Common Application. Just be sure you've checked all of your boxes, because again, nobody wants to be bothered during the holidays. And if you're in doubt, or if you're just not sure, go on the school's website, give the admissions office a call. We're always really excited to talk to you guys. If you can find your admissions counselor on the Find Your Counselor site, be sure to just shoot them an email. I'm sure they'll be happy to chat with you. Demonstrate and explore your interests. So as we've been talking about, that institutional fit, take a tour, attend a campus event, contact us. We would love to talk to you. Even throughout conversations, a quick phone call. Hey, when's the application deadline for whatever? We can get to know you even a little bit more just through those simple questions. So really take any initiative you can in any way that you can, and treat this entire time as you're applying to colleges and any interaction you have with any university as part of your application. Because at the end of the day, everything really is going to be accounted for. Students attending a four-year university may have until May 1st to make their decisions. So again, visit campus if possible post knowing what's happening. Maybe you really thought you were gonna enjoy the school, and then you get to the campus and you're just like, this just doesn't feel like somewhere I would fit in. That's a very normal thing, and it's really important for you to kind of understand your surroundings and where you're going to be living and things like that. And as I mentioned just a little bit beforehand, consider every interaction with the college or university as part of your application. So yeah, it's really important to remember that this is one of the more important applications that you'll be submitting in your young adult lives. So really pay attention to it, really put your all into it, because once you receive those decision letters, it's really going to feel like it's all worth it. And yeah, so with that, you can feel free to, excuse me. I'm not too sure. Oh, so we're going to go over some urban myths and urban legends. My apologies. So I'm going to go ahead and just share these with you. So most universities only accept a small percentage of applicants. That is going to be a myth. Most universities accept more than 50% of applicants. Again, it really just comes down to front to back application. Are you a good fit academically, community-wise, and everything? That whole holistic review process. We're coming back to that word. And then essays don't really matter much in the end because grades and test scores are so dominant in admissions decisions. I'm going to pass this one back over to Ben because he was chatting with you guys about your essays. But
yeah, I think essays that was something that I really appreciated, because I think I also fell in this camp at first before jumping into higher ed, because you kind of wonder, are people reading this? What's happening? Well, the truth is, a poorly written essay can really hurt an application. And as we've kind of talked a little bit, for a place like DePaul, since our education in general is so writing and discussion focused, we want to be able to get a sense of your voice as a person, as a writer. So we kind of put a little more time, definitely in our staff, getting to read your application, but especially the essay. And like I kind of alluded to earlier, without giving away any kind of hints, all in confidentiality, but have had instances where, students weren't admitted because their essay was plagiarized, or really maybe it wasn't even attempted to be completed. We see essays come in all the time. We talked earlier about that length. Really make sure you take advantage of the time that's given to you, and really work on writing that essay. It kills me when I see like a 1 or 2 word college essay app come through. It makes me always worry that something happened in the transfer process, maybe copying and pasting that you didn't realize. Maybe that's me being incredibly optimistic and giving people the benefit of the doubt, but always take the time to proofread your application. Essays are a big deal. All of your application pieces, spend time on them meaningfully, because you really only have one chance before you hit submit, to make sure you're ready to go.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I definitely have had those thoughts. I'm like, is this an accident?
Right.
Yeah. So if you guys want to get in touch with either Ben or myself, this is our information. Please feel free to give us a call or send us an email. We are happy to help in any way that we can. If it's not Seattle University or DePaul University, we're still happy to be here and help you out. Any questions that you may have about this process, we're really here for you guys. So thank you so much. And with that, I'm going to pass it back on over to Laura.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for a fantastic presentation. I am sure everyone had some great takeaways there, and we'll be reaching out to you with lots of questions. So again, we do have we could take another minute or so if any questions have come up. Please feel free to use that Q&A. But while you're thinking about any questions you have, I am just going to kind of get us wrapped up and ready to move to the next session. So just wanted to give you some notice that when you actually exit this webinar, you will be prompted to complete a very quick, short survey. It is only 5 questions. Would greatly appreciate your feedback on this so we can take these events that we're doing and just continue to improve them and make them a better resource for all of you. Would also encourage you to sign up for more sessions. Again, we have more today and tomorrow, so those are available to you at the same place where you will be able to access the recordings, which you should be seeing on your screen as strivescan.com/Minnesota. All right, well, I have not seen any questions coming in, so I think we are probably good to go ahead and wrap, but I look forward to seeing all of you at some other sessions later today. Again, just want to thank MACAC and Ben for joining us today and sharing their just tips and best practices for all of us. So hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.